Well, welcome to Perspectives. I'm Sam Jones, and my first guest today is the Will Rogers interpreter. Interpreter
Yes.
at the Will Rogers Memorial Museum. Bart Taylor, back to talk about a few things with us. Good to have you.
Hey, thanks for having me back, Sam. Yeah, great to be back.
What's interpreter? What?
Interpreter. I speak Will Rogers, right?
Fluent?
People always, and I told Tad Jones, you know, you've had Tad on
Yeah.
many times, and I'm like, Tad, just put something else different on the card, please. You know, it's creative curator, interpreter. So people are always like, what does interpreter mean? So yeah, interpreter, I do the Will Rogers thing. You know, I've got the gig of the Will Rogers interpreter. Yeah.
We've had several of his relatives on and gotten to know, in fact, Jennifer, who was here not too long ago.
Yep.
And as you and I were talking just a moment ago, fire just ravaged the California estate out there.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's been, I'll never forget. I live across the street from the museum. And so I was texting her in real time, Jennifer, like, what's going on? What's happening right now? With all, you know, I wanted real time updates, and so did the staff members, because everybody cares about that place, right? I had visited 3 times. I got to see Will's gum underneath the dinner table. You know, like you see those little personal things. His chili pot. The man loved chili. He's a traveler. He wanted something fast to eat, but he always had a pot of chili going on in his house. So you got to see those things that were his, and you hope a lot of that didn't get out, but some of it did, right? Some of his first edition books, some of those Remingtons, those Charles Russells. So, you know, a lot of that stuff hopefully was saved, and I know some of it was, but just a tragedy that the house is gone, because that was the man's refuge, right?
But you told me something a moment ago before we started taping that I did not know.
Yeah.
But he owned the property, or I guess it's still in his name, where the museum is.
Yeah, so in 1911, he bought that 20-acre property, which is currently the Will Rogers Memorial Museum, where the property sits today. So it's kind of a poetic at the end. That's where he is. Now, of course, he was originally buried in Forest Lawn Cemetery until 44, when Betty Rogers passed away due to breast cancer. And so he was deinterred and brought here. And of course, Betty was brought here as well, and 3 of their 4 children are over there. And so it's a place of life, but it's also a place where one of the greatest Americans, you know, in my opinion, rests today. It's where his inspiration can be drawn from. It's the well, if you will.
You, more than anybody, I think, could shed light on this. Is why is it the legend and lore and the man have stayed with us all these years?
I point directly to it's what we see ourselves as. You know, Abraham Lincoln says the better angels of our nature, right? It kind of makes us the best of our country can be. And I think Will Rogers represents the best of what our country can be as Americans, right? And it's the Cherokee side, it's the diverse part, it's the hard work and values that we share side. It's what Lincoln said. It's like, hey, this guy embodied the Constitution. Carl Sandburg, Lincoln's biographer, it might be over some folks' head, but it's someone I know who was the biographer of Lincoln. He said there's 2 people that represented the Constitution, embodied it, and it was Lincoln and Will. So you hear those big praises, you start to see, oh, yeah, he did. Never met a man I didn't like. Using those hard working talents, the Cherokee background, the heritage, and working towards that only could happen in America type thing, right?
The last time I was over there, I was taken down in the basement where Will and Betty are, and I couldn't help. It was an overpowering urge. I had to put my hands on the plate over his body.
Yes.
And because that's as close as I'll ever get to being next to the guy.
And you know, that's why folks were always, I wish he was around today. 100%, because you want to shake his hand. The guy that gives us this idea of, you can do better. I never met a man I didn't like, right? We're not always going to agree on everything, and the personality's not going to be the same, but you know what? There's always something to connect to. Will was a connector in a world of dividers. I say it almost every day to kids. Be that connector in a world of dividers. So I think when you go down there, like I was telling you too, is when I took that older lady down there, down the stairs, she was in her 90s, she got to experience being as close as she could to one of her heroes. And she said her dad's hero. And you think about, back to my personal story, my grandfather, his dad, when Will Rogers passed in 35, he came home and he was crying. And that man never showed emotion. And so those folks back in the 20s and 30s, this was more than just an entertainment figure for them.
I'm up in years, I don't deny it, but
No.
this country is torn apart almost as badly as the Civil War days.
Right.
Would Will have survived this?
Well, and that's a question I'm asking all the time, is what would Will think of today's politics? What would Will mean today to our politicians? Because Will got along with all sides, both sides, and brought those sides together. Mm-hmm. And so is anybody, and there are folks out there still doing this, is anybody using their art form, their class, their reputation, and using that at stakes to bring folks together? And you don't see a lot of folks just doing that. And I think that's what Will represented. Again, the best of getting along. I never met a man I didn't like. And so I think he could exist in pockets. I think you see him sort of in late night comedians, right? Parts of them, right? I think the closest guy to him, and it's Johnny Carson. Mm-hmm. It's a David Letterman mix. It's that goofball, but also sharing the facts, everything that we all share together, and those truths, those universal things that he could speak to in a humorous manner. That's why it was.
It's an intriguing thought to wonder if it were possible to walk behind Will as he walked through this country today, to hear what he'd verbalize, what he'd say, how he would approach it.
It'd be fantastic. That's why I think today it's good to see a comedian that got along with presidents. Will Rogers got along with 5 different presidents, from Woodrow Wilson to FDR. He joked Woodrow Wilson in front of his face. 1916, Baltimore, Maryland. Will was performing for the Friars Club. In walks Woodrow Wilson. In that joke session that Will had and his show, he had a joke about Woodrow Wilson. Mm-hmm. He decided to tell it to his face. Woodrow burst out laughing, right? That gave Will the in that he needed, that he carried for 4 other presidents. FDR called him a personal friend. I think there was something about Will that it was America, right? But it was also just using his humor, his come togetherness. It's something that we miss today.
One of my disappointments for the past year has been a local newspaper in Tulsa stopped carrying quotes from Will Rogers every day.
Right. For a long time it was on there, yes.
It was always there.
Always there.
And it was a good way for me to start the day, and see, well, what would Will say today?
Right.
Ironically, it would apply to what was going on.
Yes. I mean, when he's saying Congress, every time they make a joke, it's a law, and every time they make a law, it's a joke. Yeah. Write to your congressman, even if you can't read, just write to him. He's saying things that make us laugh, but also go, oh yeah, The Senate always opens with a prayer and closes with an investigation. And you're saying, oh my goodness, nothing changes, just technology, right? And that's what Will had a hold of. He was just the early guy in the radio, early guy in the newspapers, and in the movies that was pushing those things and his talents into those mediums. That's how he was able to connect so many people together with those ideas of come-togetherness.
We've only got a limited amount of time.
Sure.
You've got another book out.
Got another book out, and I'm teaching a class here at RSU, all about Will. It seems like all I do is, what's Bart doing? It's Will Rogers, right? It's every time. So my new book's out, Will Rogers and His Great Inspiration. So again, author of the 3rd book in the series. And what's awesome about this one, Reba McEntire wrote the foreword to my new book.
Sweet.
How did I get that? Relationships, baby. That's what I was saying. Because I'm friends to Jennifer Rogers, right? Yeah. And she opened the door to Rex Lynn. Rex Lynn and her are going to get married soon. Rex Lynn and Reba McEntire. And that opened the door to Reba. I opened my email box and it said, email from, of course, the person. I was like, oh my goodness. And what did she say? She said exactly what I was hoping for. She's connected to Clem McSpadden, who of course is Will Rogers' nephew. Mm-hmm. She was discovered by him.
I knew Clem.
That inspiration runs from Will today, even to Reba McEntire. And so just having her on the project is something that opens doors and gets the story out more.
What's the name of the book?
Will Rogers and His Great Inspiration.
And where is it available?
Yeah, gift shop, of course, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and other retail stores as well. So just check in. Yeah.
Great.
It's out there. Yeah.
Well, we got to be sure, and I got to get a copy and get you to sign it.
Yes, of course. Sounds great to me.
Thank you for coming by.
Yes, of course.
I really am grateful. And keep us posted on developments over there, will you?
Will do, definitely, yeah. Thanks again, Sam.
Good man.
Second time I've been on. Let's do a 3rd.
I don't care what anybody says. You're a good man.
Chad Jones, probably. That's the only person who's talking about me. No, thanks again.
Good to see you,
Thanks,
buddy.
sir.
Don't run off your mic.
Oh.
We're going to take a short break. We'll be back right after this. Carolyn Olsen joins us again to share what we can do to help Youth Services of Tulsa this time of year. Now, before we waddle on down the road, what is the organization?
Yes, great question. Youth Services of Tulsa is a youth serving agency in Tulsa County, serving young people ages 12 to 24 through a variety of programs and services. We've got about 20 different programs that are basically under 4 main umbrellas. We offer counseling services, we offer delinquency prevention and juvenile justice services, we have youth development programming, as well as runaway and homelessness services. So really working to really cover the spectrum of teenage and adolescent experience, with the understanding that it's a time of great change in a young person's life and in a human's life. It's a time of turmoil. You've got a lot of, bodily changes, physiological changes that are happening, social changes that are happening. And it's also a critical time for people who just need a support system and don't have a support system. So, whether you are, have been experiencing chronic poverty or chronic homelessness or chronic mental health issues, we are able to just kind of step in as that support system for young people, just offering them just a trusted adult relationship and hopefully helping young people move forward on the path to self-sufficiency.
Well, that begs the question then, how do you get your hands on these folks? I mean, you don't just go out and go knock door to door. Hi, you got any young people in there having a problem?
Yeah, well, and I guarantee you that answer, if you have a teenager, would be like, yes, I've got a teenager. Here they are. Please help me, right? Because teenagers
or a 2-year-old.
are hard. Exactly. Teenagers and kids and humans in general are hard relationally. We find these young people in schools. They're referred to us by different partner agencies. We work closely with the Office of Juvenile Affairs. So any young person in the juvenile justice system in Tulsa County would be referred to us, whether that's for a court diversion program or for young people in secured lock placement facilities. We also work a lot with our kind of continuum of care with homelessness services. So we really work to serve the youth population in that continuum in Tulsa.
You probably are on a first name basis then with a lot of judges.
Yeah, certainly a lot of our staff is, yes.
Yeah. Tulsa recently embraced a curfew.
That's right.
For the downtown area. Did you see an uptick in your numbers?
My gut reaction is no, but I think that that's probably because we partnered with Tulsa Police to provide a lot of outreach, especially when it was first enacted. We had teams out there, after working a full work week, would go out on a Friday and Saturday night and just make sure people were aware. I think that was kind of the biggest thing, was just making sure young people were aware. I think, the curfew has helped in a way, and just making sure young people know kind of where they're allowed to be and when, and making sure too that our youth have a voice and that they are advocating.
Let me interrupt here just for a minute. How do you make a young person aware? Do you walk up, hi, I'm so and so, and you have a badge?
Yeah, they're usually wearing a youth services shirt, and I will just, full disclosure, I don't do this part of the work. I joke that I'm the cheerleader, and I get to go out and talk to great people like yourself about the work that our case managers are doing. But those case managers, they're in the business of teens. They're in the business of young people. And so they know how to approach a young person. And they are confident to go up and say, hey, hi, I'm with Youth Services. Did you know that this curfew exists? Did you know that, if you're working, it's fine. If you're with your family, it's fine. If not, you've got to be accounted for by, 10 p.m. or I think it was 10 p.m.
How long have you guys been around?
We've been around since 1969, so is that 56 years now?
Yeah. Well, gosh, I wonder, I don't guess there's any way to know how many kids you've worked with.
Oh gosh, we estimate on a yearly basis that we reach about 18,000 youth in Tulsa County through all of our programs.
Yeah.
I think that There are programs that are growing. You know, we saw 590 young people in our drop-in center at the station downtown. So young people who are experiencing homelessness. We saw 590 individuals in that drop-in center last year, and that's going up. You know, the number of young people in our housing program is going up. So kind of as the world shifts and turns, and these kind of, you know, the forces that are at play do their thing, we are seeing an uptick in those numbers as well. I'd love to know how many young people we have reached in total, but 18,000 in a year, so whatever that
Really?
is. Yeah, yeah.
Golly, you must keep incredible records that would let us know about that. How are you funded?
We've got quite a diverse funding model. So we operate, we've got, of course, a very generous local community, whether that's local businesses, foundations, and of course individuals, churches that just really want to step in and help. But we also do operate. We operate with the Office of Juvenile Affairs, so we get some funding for programming from them. But also, you know, federal grants, state grants, local grants, all the grants. So we really work to kind of keep that model diverse, just to make sure that we don't completely fall apart in case our funding source does disappear.
Then I would assume, and a big assumption here, that with all the craziness going on in Washington, grants being cut, people being cut, that's going to affect you, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'll tell you, it's tricky, and we've been doing a lot of planning and thinking and trying to, you know, get really creative with, you know, our asks, and thankfully, you know, our local kind of foundations and businesses have really seen that, and, you know, luckily for us, they also really see the need, and they see the need for the work we're doing. So we've had a lot of people come up and say, you know, how can we help? And that has been very heartening in a time, I think, that it's low morale in the nonprofit world, and, you know, seeing a lot of our partners who are actively losing funding for programs that are vital.
Are you statewide?
So youth services, we're county-wide, and then there are other youth services organizations county by county. So there's like a Creek County Youth Services, for example.
Okay, so but you're in what, Tulsa County?
Tulsa County. Mm-hmm.
Okay, hey, thank you for coming in.
Yeah,
and
of course.
If you wouldn't mind, we'd like to get you back down the road.
Sure.
Maybe delve into the records a little bit.
Sure.
Because this business of grant cutting in Washington, I mean, it's getting to be second nature. They just, you know, it seems as though it's an indiscriminate thing, but it's not.
Right.
It's all politics, and you guys are not political.
We are not political. Nope, we serve any youth, all youth, with the aim and with the knowledge that youth are the future. You know, young people get older, and how can we support those young people, no matter what they're going through, to be our future and be the future of our community? And that, you know, I think when we support them, our community is stronger because of that.
Well, thank you for coming by.
Thank you.
Really grateful. And we're going to take a short break, and we'll be back with more right after this. Welcome back. I'm joined now by Martha Starr with Claremore First United Methodist Church. And we're talking about a food pantry. Good to have you.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
I'm tickled to death you've got a food pantry going.
We are too.
Do we have enough of them?
We don't, but Rogers County has several. I believe ours is probably the largest one, I think. There are at least 5 food pantries here in different churches here in Rogers County.
Is it enough?
Well, we try to make sure that it is. We try to make sure that our neighbors here in Rogers County are, you know, have food to eat.
You know, I've never lived through a period like this, and I don't think you have either.
No.
Because you're just a young thing.
Oh yeah.
Young girl. Does it frighten you to know that so many people are hurting?
Yes, it is frightening to know. And it's a concern of everyone, you know, in our church, I know, and in our community. We have got a very good community for helping people. Those people we have seen in these last few weeks, we've had corporations and churches that are having food drives, that they bring the food to us that we can give to people through our food pantry.
That's marvelous.
It is.
Absolutely marvelous. I'm make a big assumption here. I'm assuming the members of your church are also helping to pull the rope, aren't they?
Oh, yes. Yes, definitely. We have, our church is very supportive of our pantry. We probably have, I'd say, 100 volunteers, both between bringing food in on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. We give out food on Tuesdays and Thursdays in the mornings and the afternoons.
What are the hours on that?
On Tuesdays and Thursdays, we have it open from 9 till 11:30 in the mornings, and then 1 till 4:30 in the afternoons.
Have you? This is a terrible thing to ask, but I'd been negligent if I didn't. Has anyone gone through that you know?
Yes. Yes.
Did they seem embarrassed? Because they shouldn't.
I know. And I think one of the things that we try very hard to do is to make sure that our neighbors are comfortable when they come in. We try to offer them water. We have a couple of people that will ask them if they have any thing that they need prayers for, and many of them are saying, yes, I need help. I don't want it to be this way. No one is there because they want to be there.
Yeah.
But I really, truly hope that we are making them comfortable with that, and that we welcome them. And it's not their, in many, many cases, most cases, it's not their fault.
Certainly, your hearts are in the right place on this. And I have to tell you, I've never lived through this. I've never seen this before. Our church is involved in the Tulsa area in a big way, and I know that when I hear politicians say, well, go to your churches, they'll take care of you. Really? Is that the way it's supposed to work? I thought, wait a minute, weren't you guys supposed to step in?
Well, we do feel like, as a church, that we should be doing that.
Yeah.
But we need help from others also. If everyone would step up and help everyone else, help your neighbors, and then I think that would be a big benefit. I think that when we started our food pantry, it was started out in a little closet. And it was a couple of our members that said, I've seen people that come in here asking for food. And so they started going and buying food for the people that needed food. And it has become a very large thing. We are just embarking on building a Christian Neighbor Center, which is going to house our food pantry and our clothing closet and stuff for our Rogers County neighbors to help them out. And we're excited about that. And seeing all of these people coming in now, I think has really opened people's eyes. And they're saying, we need this. We need to do this.
Well, I have to tell you, Martha, I'm sure there are folks out there that know what you're doing, that you're available if they need help. But I'm also curious to know that we need in some way to let others know that you're there. And I'm hoping Rogers State Public Television has been some help in that for the First Methodist Church here. Is there anything else we can do?
No, continue to support the Community Food Bank of Eastern Oklahoma. I don't know how we could do it without them. They have been amazing, and they are stepping up right now and giving some free food in addition to what we pay for and order during November to help us make sure that our neighbors have food.
Special place in heaven for those folks.
Absolutely.
Thank you for coming
You
by.
bet.
We're all out of time. Thank you for being a part of it. We'll see you back here next time.